So I was asked, how can you create a floor that the player can walk on, but after so long, the floor crumbles? So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually pretty easy. Only downside about this tutorial is I will not be able to... yeah, see, I was afraid of that. Okay, so that's okay. I'll just scale this down. Now, normally you wouldn't want to scale these. You would actually want to click on the top and then move it down. Otherwise, you run into stretching and squashing, as you can see here on the side. But this is going to be a real simple tutorial. Whenever it comes to like splitting this up, normally is what you do is on your Pro Builder window, or you could just select like the edges like this. You'd select the edges first, and if you notice I'm selecting the ones right across from each other, you can also just select one, and then you'd click on insert edge loop. Oh, it's actually let me do it. I just can't move it. Yeah, I just can't move it. So normally I'd make these points right here match this right here. I might be able to if I do it like this. Do not know. Okay, so let me go ahead and crank this value way up. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now see, it's also moving this one. So I was hoping maybe I could kind of show you this, but basically you just select this edge and you move it where it's about here. Then you weld the vertices. Do the same thing over here, but instead of move it to this side, you'd actually move it to the opposite side. So this would have a straight line that goes right down the middle. And then you could add more edge loops and make it way more intricate. It's completely up to you. It's something I would recommend just because it gives it more of an effect. But with this alone, I should be able to kind of show you this. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this object, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this side first. I'm going to press backspace. After that, I'm going to select the object that was duplicated, or I guess this is technically the original object. I'm going to select the opposite side faces I have not yet selected. I'm going to press delete as well. Or not delete, but backspace, I'm sorry. So from there is what you need to do is you need to make sure you have the hole selected, and you're just going to click on fill hole. And we'll make sure that that worked by selecting the object, and we're going to move it up. And it did not work, so that is okay. Oh wait, do I have... Let's see, select hidden. Okay, I need to make sure that select hidden is on. You'll need to do the same thing. So in your Pro Builder, just make sure this is set to on. Reason why this is important, that's why I still have this over here. So I'm just going to press backspace, and it's still not doing it. This might just be an issue because of the fact that I am using... undo all these steps. Which is like... which face is this? This is actually the other... I'm going to turn this object off so this way I can focus just on this object. I'm going to select... Oh, come on. Okay, yeah, I would need to have Pro Builder enabled. Basically, the reason why it's not working is just because I don't have it checked out, and I don't really feel like deleting it out of here, then having to bring it back in and worry about something like that. So normally you just make sure this is checked out inside of Perforce, but I'm just going to have to kind of work with what I got. So I just filled the hole on that one, and so this is literally all I have. If you made a diagonal line, then this should just look like a triangle. So I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to click back on this one, turn this one back on. From there, I'm going to click here, here, and here. I'm going to press backspace. I'm going to select these two. I'm going to click on fill hole. And I'm going to go ahead and turn these on. So now these two are on. What I want to do from there is I actually want to come in here. I want to add a component. Oh wait, make sure these are checked as convex. So we're going to need a rigid body, and we're going to keep all this the same. Actually, I'm going to make sure angular... Let's see, let me make sure both of these are set to a real high value. 250. And so now if I hit play, I shouldn't see these move anywhere. Shouldn't. Yeah, so they're staying right where they need to be. Alright, I'm going to turn off use gravity. So, is what I want to do, let me go ahead and just move these down real quick. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create another cube and just scale this down. So I'm going to move this down right about here. Let me go ahead and zoom in on this. I'm going to hold down V. I'm just going to snap this in place real fast. Doesn't have to be anything too specific. I'm going to put a little bit of gap, and this will make sense of why I'm doing that here in just a minute. Alright, so after that, I'm going to duplicate these one more time. And the only purpose of this duplication is so this way I have a way to get up here and down real quickly and easily. Alright, so we've done that. Next thing we need to do is we need to create a new script. So I'm going to go here and create a new C# script. I'm just going to call it collapse floor. And make sure you add your initials and then an underscore. For those of you who don't know, once you start level design, that's actually going to be a requirement at the end of the class. So the sooner you get used to doing that, the easier it'll become. And the other reason why you need to do that is because when y'all do start working together, if someone else has another script called collapse floor, then y'all's scripts won't they won't cause an error to trigger. Errors can be triggered by having two scripts with the same name, and so that can actually become an issue down the road. The other thing I want to recommend is if you have to use a tag, if it's not something that's common like player or ground or something like that, like one of the predefined tags, then make sure you add your initials, underscore, and then the tag name. So I cannot stress the importance of that enough. Now y'all know how I feel about this crap in the middle. Get rid of it. I'm going to say public rigid body. I'm just going to call RB. And for start, I'm going to say RB equals RB a component. And the component type we are getting is a rigid body. And so from there, we're going to say on trigger enter. And we're going to say if other dot GameObject.tag equals player. Then is what we want to do is we're actually going to run a coroutine. So this way, whenever the player walks on it, it'll wait for like a second or two, and then it will collapse. And so the way we would do this is we would say, I'm trying to think on how we want to do this. We're going to say RB dot use gravity equals true. We're going to say RB dot angular drag equals 0.05. And then we're going to say RB dot drag, that is going to equal 0. And the reason why we have a red squiggly line right here, because I forgot to do that. My bad. Now this is going to take place instantly. We do not want that. So as I mentioned before, we're going to need a coroutine. We're going to say enumerator, and let's just call this collapse. And we're going to say yield return new wait 4 seconds, and then we're going to say 2 seconds. I think that should be long enough. So if you have the code right here, this will happen instantly. If you have the code below this, it'll wait for 2 seconds, and then the magic will take place. So right here we want to say start coroutine, and the name of this coroutine is just called collapse, as I've spelt it right here. So this is this right here is the same thing as if you're going to do something like collapse. But because this is a coroutine, you can't just call it like that. You have to tell it to start the coroutine. And so that's why. The reason why this is an IEnumerator, because you can only call this method through an IEnumerator due to the fact that it is a coroutine. So that's just something I want you to kind of be aware of. So from there we're going to save it. we're also going to need a game object. Public game object floor C. And so this is just going to be, there we go. This game object right here, this will just instantiate real quick, or it'll actually be set to active for like a split second, and then it'll disappear immediately. So the way we're going to do that is right below this, we're going to say yield return new, wait for seconds, and we're just going to say 0.01. And then so what we want to do is we want to say floor C dot set active true, and then down here we're going to say floor C dot set active false. So it's literally just going to phase in and out super fast. That is all it is going to do. And the reason why, and I actually found this out on one of my previous tutorials on making a destructible wall, even though you change the values of this, it does update, but nothing happens. And so the purpose of this simple little thing that is taking place is that whenever this pops in and pops back out, it's actually going to allow us to trigger this to actually have it all collapse. So this right here, this is going to be called floor C, and just make sure you have a lot of these named. So for this right here is what we want to do. Oh, and something else I forgot to mention. You can do it this way, it'll get real tedious. So make sure that this is going to be your starting group, and then whenever you drag this over here, get in there. So you have your rigid body. Don't just drag it like that, because if you do, you'll notice that this one has it, and this one has it. Well, Jimmy, what's the problem? Here's the problem. This is cube 1, and if we come back here and click on this, this is cube 1. So you'll actually have to assign this individually, but I'm going to show you how you can easily duplicate this. So make sure you have the audio you want. Make sure everything is set up with just this basic prefab. It could be 10 pieces, it could be 15 pieces. That is entirely up to you. It just depends on how much effort you want to put into it. So once we've done that, now we can select both of them and move floor C, since this is all going to be one object. Is what we want to do is we want to click on floor C. We're actually just going to move this over here like so. I'm just going to make this super thin. I'm going to go ahead and frame in on this. I'm just going to set it right about here. Let me go ahead and make it thinner. The idea is to just barely have this pop in and out, and that will be it. So let me select all these and make sure these are all set to convex. And once you have done that, we can go ahead and create an empty game object. We're just going to call this destructible. Sure, why not destructible? Yeah. Floor. There we go. Okay. So now, once this takes place, this will automatically start breaking. The other way you can set this up is if you're just kind of like, well, I want it to be where the entire floor collapses, because only parts of these will collapse as a player is running on it. If you want to do that, that's actually just as easy. You will turn this into an array, and then from there, we're going to say for int I equals 0. Then we'll say RB, if I is less than RB dot length I plus plus. And from there, we'll just simply close that off. And you might be wondering, well, why is this still showing up like that? Well, the reason is because we need to make sure that we're defining what's going to be set up. And so we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to say for int I equals 0. We're going to say I is less than RB dot length, and we're going to say I plus plus. And then we will actually just enclose all this. You can close this entire thing in a loop. In fact, I think I'm going to do that, because why not? And so after that, you'll just set it up like this. And so the advantage you have of doing that is now you can select these. Come on, Unity. Let it load, let it load. Okay, now you can select both of these. We can actually remove this script from this component. And all we have to do is, let's go ahead and create another empty game object, but we're going to create inside this. This will be dest floor. So this will tell me these are the floor components right here. And we're going to create another empty game object called floor C objects. And so each one of these will be in here. So once you've done that, we'll go ahead and add the script to just this one object. And is what we'll do from there. Floor C will... you can either set that up as an array the same way we did with the other. If you do, though, you don't want two of these arrays in here, so the way you do that is you just remove this swirly bracket and you'd put it right here, and then below that is where you create your next for loop for your floor C to set active, where it'd set them all active. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to make the floor C larger and do it that way. And the reason why, because it's easier for me to just trigger one component, have everything selected and just drag it over there, than it is to actually go back and create a series of different floor components and things like that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this object right here. So I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to move it over here. And now, what we need to do is we actually need to expand these. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these components. And I'm already screwing up. Let me go ahead and select this component, lock it in place, and now I'll select all these. Let me just drag these over on top of RB. So now it's actually picking up all of these. And with this locked in place, I can just grab floor C right here and put it right here. And so now floor C, I'm going to move over here, and then I'm going to switch to my scale tool and move that right across there. There we go. And so now you have this floor that is actually destructible. And if you want multiple floors, you can simply just duplicate that one game object. So I'm going to set this one close to the ground, and I'm going to keep the screen like so. So this way you can actually, let me go ahead and rotate over here. So this way, whenever I start playing the game, you can actually see it. There we go. So we can still see that. And let's go ahead and test it out and make sure everything is working. Hopefully it is. Unless I forgot to do something. So I'm going to just jump up on this one. 1, 2. So that should have instantiated, but it did not. Okay, and that's the only error that I have. Oh, I know what I did. So, destructible floor. I'm sorry. We actually need to make these invisible, because it's actually currently... okay, that one's good. Jimmy, you idiot. There we go. Go ahead and click on both of these. I'm just going to make them invisible. So what was going on is it was already instantiated. It was set as active, so it was constantly colliding with them, but because of their drag, nothing was happening. So this should be... I don't know why it's not. And let's go ahead and take a look. Go ahead and make these active. I'm also going to add a box collider. I just want to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Then the other thing I'm going to do is make sure they're actually tall enough. So I'm going to go ahead and set them as inactive again. Let me come back into the game. And one last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to click Why is it not letting me click? Wrong button. There we go. Okay, so now is what I want to do. I can look over down there on the drag and angular drag and make sure that those are doing what I want it to do. And they are not. Okay, so that's actually going to be a tag issue, I believe. The other way you can do that, because it should be doing it with the game object being tagged as player, but if it's not, like I'm running into, and I really don't feel like changing the player tag because I know that's not allowed. Let's see. I'm going to just... Okay, screw it. I'm just going to run it as is. So either there's something going on with my for loop, or I have something else going on that I'm just not seeing. Now, it could be anything. Okay, so yeah, I just collided with it, and nothing is even happening to these objects. Yeah, so I'm colliding with it, and it's not changing the value. So there's actually an issue with my for loop. I don't know what I screwed up on. So here's where we come up with a debug.log. .log is working. And then I'm going to create one more right up here. I'm going to say collapse time. Go ahead and save it. I'll hit play again. And so is what should happen is we should see two debug.log messages. So let me just run over here real quick, touch it, and okay, there we go. That's our issue. So is what's going on is it's not doing the for loops like it needs to. That's actually really interesting. I equals 0, rb.length, I++. Okay, so all that should be working. Why is it not working? It's actually not even doing the on-trigger enter. I know why it's not doing it. And this is where I get to say, Jimmy, you dumbass. Say it with me. Jimmy, you dumbass. So I'm trying to do a trigger. I have no trigger assigned. And it's actually really hard for it to be a trigger if there is no trigger. So instead of going back and changing all this, is what I'm going to say is on collision enter, and you can't just type in collision because this is set up as a collider, so I'm going to say collision. No. Collider. No. What is it? You would think I'd remember this, but I don't. Let's see. On collision enter. It is a type of collision. Okay. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Oh, wait. That worked. Okay. Let me save it. And now you'll see that it's actually going to work now. I've been so used to using triggers that my dumbass forgot to assign it as a trigger. So now when you see me run into it, 1, 2, nothing, nothing, why not? So I might actually have to assign, I might actually have to come back in here and let's go ahead and assign triggers to these, which really sucks. But that is okay. That is why we are here to learn. So we're going to set all these as triggers. I'm going to press F on the keyboard. And I'm going to make these just a little bit larger. So this one will be 0.51, 1.01, 1.01. There we go. So just a little bit larger. But now the problem is they're going to be colliding with each other. So this is where we do want to add if collision, or actually I want to change this back to on trigger enter. So let me go ahead and change this back. I'm going to also get rid of these debug logs. There we go. Let me go ahead and save it. And this way, because these are colliding with each other, That's why I'm wanting to go ahead and put that back where only if the collision is the player, it will start that coroutine. So, once again, y'all, I'm sorry. That is my bad. My head was up somewhere where the sun don't shine. So, let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see, and I still have that set up. So, let me make sure. There we go. And trigger area may not be large enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make, I'm just going to make, oh, wrong button, 2, 2, and 2. Okie dokie, so we're still not calling it. Time for a debug.log. So I'm actually going to do them all right here because I know that's where our issue's coming in at. Debug.log, trigger check, and then we're going to come down in here, right here, debug.log, collapse. Helps if I add the quotations. And now I'll save it and I'll test it again and see what is going on. Because I know the players tagged as player. So we're still not getting the collapse message. I'm going to change this to a 1, 2, and 2. Yeah, so it's definitely not interacting with the player. So let's go ahead and see what Scraps is set at. Untagged, okay. Player character, this has a caps, oh no, this is tagged as player. So, let's go back in here. This is, okay, what is going on? It's not even registering the trigger checks, which is actually really interesting. So I'm going to actually, let's go ahead and do this real fast. Let's go ahead and create on, okay, where did I screw up? Private. Collision, enter, collision, other, well, now this is interesting. This time won't let me type this out properly. Oh, wait, that's my own dumbass fault. Okay, I deserve that one. I'm going to change this to collision check. This is the fun part whenever you don't have full access because you never create a backup for yourself. So, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, see, I'm not even getting a collision check. I don't know why. Okay, that was mildly cool. What warnings do we have? Don't care about that. I don't care about that. So it looks like I'm going to have to set it up where it's on itself, which is no big deal. I was just hoping I could have done it this way because it's been a little easier. But I think is what's going on is that the collision check is only doing it with the game object. Or actually, here's another. Let me go ahead and do it this way, because this is one thing I didn't think about, and I'm just now starting to realize this, which is my bad, y'all. We're doing it with a game object, not with the rigid bodies themselves, like I was originally going to plan on doing. So why I didn't figure this up, I have no idea. But it's actually a really easy fix. Like, super easy. And y'all, I am so sorry. Got a little bit on my mind. So I'm just going to move this, and I'm going to move this. So now, check this out. With having this little... no. There we go. So, with having this little guy in here as a trigger, whenever I touch it, we get collapse. Oh, it works. And you'll see that they start kind of popping in. I'm like, yeah, it's popping in fast. And the way you do that is simply turn off the thing. Let me show you. You select this item that pops up. Just get rid of the mesh renderer. Okay, just uncheck it. And so, by doing that, is what ends up happening is it still pops in real fast, like so. Oh, that's doing that because I never... Let me go ahead and just check this. So this way it stays checked as a trigger. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do one more thing. Is what I'm going to do is I'm going to say private bool. Private bool obj check. And so we're going to come down here and say obj check equals true. And then we're going to have update. No! Okay, why is it doing that? Oh, because my enumerator. Duh. Update. And we're going to say if obj... No. obj check. Okay, you know what? Screw you too. obj check. Then we're going to say... or actually... we don't even need that. We can just come down here and say, right here, if obj check, do one more thing, and there we go. So, what's going to happen is it's always going to be setting itself to false, because it will never set this to true if it's all, or yeah, it will never set this as active if this is true. So a way to prove this is we can actually turn the mesh renderer back on. We should only see it flash one time. So we go ahead and start this up. I'm going to come here. Okay, there we go. It is working. It takes a second. And so the reason why those are all falling one at a time is because of this for loop that we have in here. It's actually waiting 2 seconds each time. So if you want to fix that, is what you can do is just simply get rid of that and put it right there. And you'll see now that whenever I start this, as soon as I jump on it and jump off, they should all just fall now. So I'm just going to run over here, jump on, run off, and kablooey. Done. And there you go. So that is how you set up your destructible floor. Sorry it took so long. Like I said earlier, my head was somewhere it shouldn't have been. But I hope this helps out. If you have any more questions, just message me or leave a comment or something, and I'll try to get back to you and see if I can actually make one of these tutorials without screwing something up. Until next time, folks, I shall see you later.